tell you.
When the waters finally fell, the losses included at least one human life and $50 million in property damage.
What am I to do? Can you help me?
Now, John Coleman has always said forecasting weather in Chicago is tough, and when you look at this flood situation, you can see just how difficult it is.
Ron, we were very nervous but very lucky. While 25 inches of rain fell in McHenry and Lake counties, 50 miles northwest of the Loop, O'Hare Field only picked up 7 inches of rain in September, and Lake Calumet in the south part of the city less than an inch. So for the most part, Chicagoans were only spectators to this horrible flood. The year of 1986, in fact, was marked by generally unspectacular weather in the city. The winter, the snow amounts weren't bad. There were no major big storms. The spring was gorgeous, warm and dry. It came early, remember? And we had no severe storms. The summer was rather cloudy, but we did manage to have 11 days on which the temperature at 90 degrees or higher. Fall, a disappointment, as the weekends turned cloudy and rainy in Chicago. And for the winter so far, an early cold snap in November is the most remarkable event, when on the 13th, the temperature dropped to 6 degrees, the coldest ever, so early in the season. The most remarkable weather event of the year killed no one and didn't do much damage. It was this tornado, which swept down near Minneapolis in July. These remarkable pictures are now being studied by scientists around the world and will add a great deal to our knowledge of tornadoes in the years ahead.
What's missing from this picture? Much of the beach along Chicago's lakefront as Lake Michigan hit its highest levels in 300 years.
The stock market hit its highest level ever, but also had its biggest one-day drop, 86 points in September. Overall, the market had enough strength to overcome even that.
The gallant men of Olds present the new Olds GTs. Oh, give me that, give me that, give me that Olds GT. Oh, give me that. It feels like me. Looking good. Give me that. Yeah. Give me that. You got it. Oh, give me that. Olds GT. Get it at your gallant men of Olds right now.
You know, life's too short to worry about impressing other people. I mean, have you ever been really impressed by a person's credit card? What matters about a credit card is how it impresses me. MasterCard gives me what I want, and anything is possible. It goes where I want to go. Could be Timbuktu. When I want, day or night. Don't talk to me about impressions. Give me possibilities. MasterCard. Master the possibilities.
Ain't nothing like the real thing, baby.
This holiday season, serve the very best at any gathering. Serve delicious chicken tenders from Burger King.
Ain't nothing like the real thing.
Chicken tenders are all white meat breast fillets, not formed bits and pieces of chicken like McNuggets. Plus, they're cooked in 100% vegetable oil. So pick up chicken tenders from Burger King. This holiday, how could you serve anything less than the best?
Ain't nothing like the real thing, baby.
We are the Super Bowl champs.
But for Chicagoans, it was much more. For a moment, we were able to put aside the Second City label. We were winners.
And we're going to stay that way.
Chicago cheered an irreverent quarterback, an oversized lineman, and the most amazing running back in the game. And they propelled us toward a trip to New Orleans and Super Bowl 20.
Here's to the Bears.
It would turn out to be the toughest task of January '86, getting a Super Bowl ticket.
One from me, one from my wife, one from my girlfriend. Thank God. I've become a Bear fan.
Suddenly, it seemed that everyone was a Bear fan, from City Hall.
We don't need no music. We don't need no band. All we need are Bear fans. They're running the stand.
To the Board of Trade, to the Daily Plaza and beyond, we went Bear crazy. The Bear victory released a flood of people and emotions, and a celebration on Rush Street that made the monsters of the Midway seem tame.
About a dozen disorderly conduct arrests were made. Several cars were destroyed. But Sunday night's unsightly celebration was overshadowed by a grand homecoming for the Super Bowl champions. Monday turned sharp and clear with a wind chill of -25 as busloads of Bears snaked their way through 500,000 people and 10 tons of confetti.
It had been 23 years since the city produced a bona fide champion. 23 years since the second city had truly been number one. What the 1986 Super Bowl proved to the world and to Chicago itself was that it could indeed succeed.
We finally did it. We're not jokers, you know, and it feels great.
1986 was the year when we finally won something. Mark Giangreco is here to take a look at Super Bowl past and we hope present.
I think so, Carol. I mean, so many things happen in Chicago sports year after year, but we can't get away from it. Just like 1985, 1986 was indeed the year of the Bear.
Super Bowl 20 turned out to be a gaudy display of sheer power and talent. Buddy Ryan flew off to Philly then, but kept firing back at his old buddy.
My dick is a jerk. What difference it make?
Joey Meyer and the Demons came of age, winning a couple of tournament games, but the Sting got stung, and the Blackhawks fell through the ice, raked from the playoffs by the Maple Leafs. Back from a broken sneaker, Air Jordan exploded for a postseason record 63 against the mighty Celtics. In baseball, the Cubs crashed, canned Jim Fry, and installed Gene Michael, then stripped Marla Collins for good measure. On the south side, the Sox dumped Tony La Russa and brought Jim Fregosi back to the majors. Then it was back to Platteville, where Walter came by Whirlybird. And at mid-camp, General Bad Boy led the troops to London to beat the Cowboys. Then a brand new season, but the same old story as Jimmy Mack was mangled.
Ah, shut up.
Which is exactly what Ditka said to those who questioned his signing of Doug Flutie. Then came the infamous McMahon Slam, followed by repairs, rest, and rehabilitation. As for Ditka, damn the quarterbacks, full speed ahead.
It was a year we were urged to say no to drugs and urged to say yes to drug testing. As the issue of drugs came off the streets and into the office buildings, some workers cried invasion of privacy.
We also learned about radon, a dangerous gas that seeps into homes. Unit 5 reported that half the cities and towns in this state had some houses with high radon levels.
Here's an important financing announcement. Now, exclusively at Schaumburg Nissan Isuzu, 3.7 APR financing on every new and used car and truck. Not just selected models, but 3.7 on every Nissan Isuzu and used vehicle in stock. Schaumburg Nissan Isuzu, a huge inventory means dramatic volume discounts, plus 3.7 APR on every car and truck, exclusively at Schaumburg Nissan Isuzu, 910 West Gulf Road, just 2 miles west of Woodfield.
I wish that I could be a star in the sky and some toys for everybody to be nice and be friends and never fight each other.
May all your wishes come true. Season's greetings from your local bottler of Coca-Cola.
Sponsored by WGN Radio.
Super Bowl 13, Bradshaw and Staubach in the only Super Bowl rematch. It's Bradshaw to John Stallworth for a score. Here's Bradshaw again to Rocky Blyer. Another score. Pittsburgh 35, Dallas 31. For Bradshaw with a Super Bowl record 4 touchdown passes, a winning moment.
Okay, here's the plan. This year, you're going to enjoy watching Bears football more than ever, because you're going to watch it on radio with me, Larrabee, and Howard, right?
That's right, little fella. Remember this number and think radio.
WGN Radio, 72 on your AM dial.
For Bears football, WGN Radio is Chicago.
Little fella?
Well, you've already seen a lot of memories from 1986.
But hang on, we have a lot more to show you. Experts say it's alarming. The number of times airplanes almost collided in the skies nationwide reached a record level this year, more than 1,000 times, and dozens of times over Chicago.
A disturbing threat on the ground, poisoned consumer products. Tylenol capsules came off the shelves permanently. For a short time, Anacin 3, Contac, and Jell-O brand gelatin were pulled as well.
School is supposed to be a safe haven, but that changed in a particularly frightening way this year. Some Chicago area school teachers were charged with molestation and child pornography.
It's a waiting game.
But the waiting game in question lasted for 2.5 days on a quiet north side street. Police were waiting for John Pash. Pash is now facing charges of killing his landlord, then a police officer, and holding a neighbor hostage before finally giving up.
I'm going to dissect her. Who are you going to dissect? The child.
It didn't last as long, but the threats of Connie Scholl were just as dramatic. It turned out that she wasn't holding anyone hostage, and finally she was captured peacefully, somewhat.
2 hostages of a different sort found freedom this year. Fran Pergericht of Chicago saw her Soviet husband finally get an exit visa and come to Chicago. And Simon Levin of Deerfield was reunited with his Soviet wife and the son he had never seen.
Rebirth to the Chicago Theater, renovated and reopened to live stage shows. And remorse for the Chicago Playboy Club. It closed, a victim of changing tastes and times.
The Chicago crime syndicate found itself a little less organized when its top bosses were jailed. Joey Doves Ayupa, Jackie the Lackey Cerrone, Angelo the Hook La Pietra, and Joey the Clown Lombardo were convicted of skimming profits from Las Vegas casinos.
Tony Spilatro, the mob's man in Vegas, turned up missing with his brother. They were found a few days later, buried together after being beaten to death.
But Al Scarface Capone was back from the dead. What was in that mysterious vault discovered in the basement of the Lexington Hotel? Millions of people watched as Geraldo Rivera found no bones, no bodies, no bucks, just a little green bottle and a lot of hype.
The El Rucan street gang had been in trouble before, but not like this. Federal authorities say they tried to become terrorists for Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi.
A number of prominent Chicagoans died this year, famous and infamous. Among them, baseball owner Bill Veeck, real estate moguls A.N. Pritzker and Arthur Rubloff, former Attorney General Bill Scott, State Senator Charlie Chu, and gunned down in his chauffeur-driven Cadillac, suspected drug kingpin Willie Fluky Stokes.
It was a year when we held hands for the hungry and welcomed a prince. 2 more judges were convicted of corruption. Homosexuals saw an equal rights ordinance defeated due in large part to opposition from Cardinal Bernardine.
Halley's Comet came and went. Crack came to stay. Steel workers went on strike. Tribune workers stayed on strike. Auto workers were laid off in massive numbers.
A 9-year-old girl died after a bus driver refused to divert his bus to a nearby hospital. A baby lived when a legless Vietnam veteran dragged himself 60 yards to save her from drowning.
A powerful congressman pleaded guilty to drunk driving. A state representative got 6 years in federal prison for fraud.
'Twas 2 days before Christmas, and all through the north side, not a light bulb was twinkling, but we took it in stride. And a lottery prize of $3 million went unclaimed, despite Rich Samuel's efforts to find the owner of the winning ticket.
4, 14, 16, 29, 37, 41.
Well, Rich never did find the winner, but there were a lot of other things about 1986 that made it a winner of a year. The compassion of a city that turned out to honor Vietnam vets, the strength of a Joliet priest to persevere, and the courage of all those people we saw who were flooded out of their homes.
Now it's time to look ahead. The mayor's race, more revelations from Operation Greylord, more from City Hall and Operation Incubator, the possibility of a Super Bowl, not to mention the unforeseen events that always test a city and its people. And we'll be there to cover them one more time. Thank you for joining us. For Ron and all of the Channel 5 newsroom, Happy New Year, and see you in '87. Next here on the Channel 5 News, a horrifying scene in Puerto Rico as dozens die and a high-rise luxury hotel goes up in flames.
Also tonight, a live update on the manhunt for a gunman who shot down a policeman on Chicago's west side.
We'll sample some of the parties in progress as Chicago says farewell to 1986.
And the refrigerettes share their dietary tips with the ever-expanding William Perry.
All of that and more coming up next here on the Channel 5 News.
Here's what Chicago is saying about WCLR 102 FM.
They've really improved the music on WCLR. It's better than ever.
Now they're playing light rock.
Light rock.
Light rock. What does WCLR mean when they say light rock?
More variety. WCLR plays my favorites from yesterday and today.
Lionel Richie, Billy Joel, the Supremes.
Variety, and not too hard or too soft. Light rock.
Chicago's Light Rock, WCLR 102 FM.
When you're talking low, you're talking Lou. 'Cause nobody sells video lower than Lou.